While I worked nights in freezing attics, you sipped wine in my bed. With him.
I came home early to surprise my wife. Instead, I found clothes leading up the stairs to our bedroom. The red stilettos by the front door weren't Dana's size. Too small. The navy blazer draped over the banister wasn't mine either. Too expensive. I stood there in my work boots, still holding the gas station roses I'd bought her, watching water drip from the stems onto our hardwood floor. My name is Tom Harden. I fix air conditioners for a living. I'm good with my hands, better with tools, and apparently blind as a bat when it comes to reading people, especially the woman I married 8 years ago. I set the flowers on the kitchen counter and walked to my recliner. The old brown leather chair sat in the corner of our living room like a faithful dog. I'd bought it secondhand when we first moved to this house in Lake Geneva. Dana hated it, called it an eyesore. But it was mine. And in this house, full of her Pinterest boards and staged perfection, it was the only thing that felt real. I reached under the cushion and pulled out what looked like a .44. Black metal, heavy grip, intimidating as heck. Cost me $30 at Dick's Sporting Goods. It was painted to look like the real thing. I'd been keeping it there for months, ever since I started noticing the little things. The way Dana's phone was always face down. The way she started working late 3 nights a week. The way she'd shower immediately after coming home from client meetings. Upstairs, I heard Dana's laugh. Light, musical. The same laugh that made me fall for her in college. But she wasn't laughing with me anymore. She was laughing with Keith Maddox, her business partner at Premier Realty, the guy who drove a leased BMW and wore cologne that probably cost more than my weekly paycheck. I pulled out my phone and opened FaceTime, scrolled to Monica Maddox's number, Keith's wife. We'd met at company barbecues, made small talk about our kids, complained about our spouses' long hours. Monica was a prosecutor for the county. Sharp, no nonsense, the kind of woman who could gut you with words alone. The FaceTime rang once, twice. Tom! Monica's face appeared on screen. She was in her kitchen, wearing a tank top, hair in a messy bun. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I have, I said, standing up from the recliner. Your husband's upstairs with my wife. Monica's expression shifted. The color drained from her face. What are you talking about? I'm talking about Keith's BMW in my driveway, his blazer on my banister, and the fact that my wife is currently entertaining him in my bedroom. I heard footsteps above us, the shower turning on. Tom, are you sure? Maybe there's an explanation. Monica, I'm holding a tool right now. I'm about to go upstairs and have a conversation with your husband. Do you want to watch? Her eyes widened. Tom, don't do anything stupid. I'm calling the police. Good, I said, adjusting the phone so she could see the tool. Call them. But keep watching. This is going to be educational. I walked to the stairs, phone in one hand, fake tool in the other. Each step creaked under my weight. The house was old, built in the 50s, and it had character. That's what Dana used to say. Now it just felt like a tomb. The bedroom door was closed. I could hear them talking, laughing. Water running in the bathroom. I gripped the tool tighter and turned the handle. Surprise, I said. Dana spun around, clutching a sheet to her chest. Her face went white. Keith stood by the window, naked except for his boxer shorts, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Tom, Dana stammered, this isn't what it looks like. Really? I raised the tool, pointed it at Keith. Because it looks like you're screwing your business partner in our bed. Keith raised his hands. Look, man, we can talk about this. We are talking about it, I said, keeping the tool trained on him. All of us. Including your wife. I held up the phone so they could see Monica's face on the screen. She was crying now, but her voice was steady. Keith, you son of a witch. You lying, cheating son of a witch. Monica, honey, I can explain. Explain what? She screamed through the phone. Explain how you're standing in another man's bedroom in your underwear? Explain how you've been lying to me for months? Keith lunged for the phone. I sidestepped and brought the magnum down on his shoulder. Not hard enough to break anything, but hard enough to drop him to his knees. Don't touch my phone, I said calmly. Monica and I are having a conversation. Dana found her voice. Tom, put the tool down. You're scaring me. I'm scaring you? I laughed, and it came out bitter. You're in bed with another man, and I'm the one who's scary? It's not loaded, Keith said from the floor, rubbing his shoulder. That's not even a real magnum. You want to test that theory? I asked. He didn't. The sirens were getting closer. Monica had kept her word about calling the police, but I wasn't finished yet. Keith, I said, I want you to tell my wife exactly what you told me at the Christmas party about how easy it would be to get her to leave me. I never said that. No? Because I remember you saying she was too good for a blue-collar guy like me, that she deserved someone with ambition. Dana's face flushed. Tom, don't what? Don't tell the truth? Don't mention how you've been planning this for months? Don't talk about the apartment you've been looking at downtown? The sirens were in our driveway now. Red and blue lights flashed through the bedroom window. Keith tried to stand up, but I pressed the tool to his chest. Stay down, I said. We're not finished. Tom, Monica's voice came through the phone. The police are there. Let them handle this. Oh, I'm going to let them handle it, I said. But first, I want Keith to explain something to his wife. What? Keith's voice cracked. Tell her about the restraining order she filed against you last month, the one you violated by being here tonight. Keith's face went pale. How did you? I know a lot of things, Keith. Like how you've been harassing Monica since she found out about your gambling debts, how you've been threatening her if she leaves you, how you've been using my wife as an escape from your own failing marriage. The front door slammed open downstairs. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Police. Everyone stay where you are. 2 officers appeared in the doorway, magnums drawn. I immediately dropped the fake tool and raised my hands. He's got a magnum, Dana screamed. It's fake, I said calmly. Check it if you want. One of the officers picked up the tool, examined it. It's not real, he confirmed to his partner. But he threatened us with it, Keith said, standing up. He assaulted me. Sir, you need to stay back, the officer told Keith. Then he looked at me. What's your name? Tom Harden. This is my house. That's my wife in bed with her business partner. The officer looked around the room, taking in the scene. Rumpled sheets, clothes scattered on the floor. Dana clutching a sheet to her chest. Ma'am, is this your residence? Yes, Dana said. But he threatened us. He came in here with a magnum and a fake one, I corrected. And this is my bedroom, in my house. They were trespassing. The officer looked at Keith. Sir, what's your name? Keith Maddox. The officer spoke into his radio, running Keith's name through the system. A moment later, he looked up with a different expression. Sir, you have an active restraining order against you. Filed by Monica Maddox 3 weeks ago? Keith's face went white. That's not relevant here. It is if you're violating it by being in this location, the officer said. Mrs. Maddox lives at 1247 Elm Street, correct? Yes, but this is 1285 Elm Street. You're within the 500-foot restriction zone. I held up my phone where Monica was still connected on FaceTime. Officer, Mrs. Maddox is right here. She can confirm that her husband is violating the restraining order. Monica's voice came through the phone speaker. Officer, I want him arrested. He's been threatening me for weeks, and now he's here with another woman, violating the court order. The officer nodded to his partner. Keith Maddox, you're under arrest for violating a restraining order. As they cuffed Keith, he looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Yeah, I said. It is. Dana wrapped the sheet around herself and moved away from me. Tom, I want you out of this house, tonight. It's my house too, Dana. I don't care. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm getting a restraining order against you too. I looked at her standing there, trying to look like the victim. Like she hadn't just been caught in our bed with another man. Like she hadn't been planning to leave me for months. You do that, I said. But remember, I've got cameras in this house, and they've been recording everything. Her face went pale. What cameras? The ones you don't know about. The ones that have been documenting your affair for the past 2 months? I walked downstairs, leaving Dana and the police officers to sort out the mess. Outside, they were loading Keith into the back of a patrol car. Monica's Mercedes was pulling into the driveway. She got out of the car like a woman on a mission. Power suit, heels clicking on the pavement, every inch the prosecutor. She walked straight to the patrol car and stared at Keith through the window. 20 years, she said to him. 20 years of marriage, and this is how you repay me. Keith tried to say something, but she'd already turned away. She walked over to where I was standing on the porch. Tom, she said. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. How long have you known? I suspected for months. The late nights, the business trips that never made sense. But I didn't have proof until tonight. She looked back at the patrol car. He's going to jail for violating the restraining order, probably 30 days minimum. Good, I said. And Tom, those cameras you mentioned? I'm going to need copies of those recordings for my divorce proceedings. I nodded. I'll get them to you. Dana appeared in the doorway behind me, now dressed in jeans and a sweater. She looked at Monica with a mixture of shame and defiance. Monica, I'm sorry. Monica cut her off. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to your husband. Apologize to your son. But don't apologize to me. I don't want to hear it. She got back in her car and drove away, leaving Dana and me standing on the porch as the police finished their paperwork. Tom, Dana said quietly. We need to talk. No, I said. We don't. You made your choice. Now live with it. I walked to my truck and drove to the Motel 6 on Highway 12. It wasn't much, but it was better than sleeping in the same house as my cheating wife. I'd stay there until I figured out my next move. But I wasn't done with Keith Maddox. Not by a long shot. And I wasn't done with Dana either. They thought they could humiliate me, destroy my marriage, and walk away unscathed. They were wrong. I was the guy who fixed things when they broke. And Keith Maddox had just broken my life. Time to return the favor. The next morning, I called my brother Kyle. He'd been a Marine for 12 years before getting out and starting his own security company. If anyone could help me navigate this mess, it was him. Jesus, Tom, he said when I told him what happened. I'm sorry, man. That's rough. I need advice, I said. Legal advice, strategic advice. What kind of strategy are we talking about? The kind where I make sure Keith Maddox regrets the day he met my wife. Kyle was quiet for a moment. You know I can't help you do anything illegal. I'm not talking about illegal. I'm talking about justice. Real justice. The kind that leaves a mark. What do you need? I told him about Monica and the restraining order. About the cameras in the house. About Dana's plan to take me to court. First thing, Kyle said, you need a lawyer, a good one, someone who knows family law. You can't afford not to have one. Call Jennifer Walsh at Walsh & Associates. Tell her I sent you. She'll work with you on payment. What about Keith? What about him? He's got money. He's got connections. He thinks he can just walk away from this. Kyle sighed. Tom, I know you're angry. I know you want revenge, but you've got to be smart about this. Don't do anything that's going to land you in jail. I'm not going to jail, but Keith might. What do you mean? Monica's a prosecutor. She's got resources. And she's pissed off. Really pissed off. So let her handle it. I am, but I'm also going to help her along. That afternoon, I met with Jennifer Walsh. She was a small woman with steel gray hair and the kind of eyes that could cut glass. She listened to my story without interrupting, taking notes in a leather-bound notebook. Mr. Harden, she said when I finished, you're in a difficult position. Your wife has already filed for divorce and a temporary restraining order. She's asking for full custody of your son and exclusive use of the marital home. Can she do that? She can ask. Whether she'll get it depends on several factors. The fake tool incident doesn't help your case. It wasn't loaded. It wasn't even real. I understand that. But the court will see it as threatening behavior. Your wife's attorney will paint you as unstable, possibly dangerous. So what do I do? Jennifer leaned back in her chair. You mentioned security cameras. Are they legal? They're in my own house, common areas only, no bedrooms or bathrooms. Good. I'll need copies of those recordings, all of them. And I'll need a complete timeline of your wife's affair. You think that will help? In Wisconsin, adultery is still relevant in divorce proceedings. It won't prevent her from getting a divorce, but it can affect property division and alimony. And if she's been using marital assets to support the affair, that's even better. I left Jennifer's office feeling more hopeful than I had in days. But hope wasn't enough. I wanted Keith Maddox to suffer. I wanted him to lose everything, the same way I was losing everything. That night, I called Monica. Tom, she said when she answered, how are you holding up? I'm angry, I said, really angry. I know. I am too. I want to destroy him. Monica was quiet for a long moment. So do I. What do you say we help each other? What do you have in mind? I've got recordings of Keith and Dana together. Not just the affair, but conversations about their plans, about how they were going to handle our divorces, about financial arrangements. Are you offering to share those recordings? I'm offering to be your partner in this. You've got the legal expertise. I've got the evidence. Together, we can make sure Keith pays for what he's done. Tom, I have to be careful. Your job is to prosecute criminals. Keith violated a restraining order. He's been threatening you. He's been using marital assets to support his affair. Sounds like criminal behavior to me. Monica sighed. Meet me tomorrow, my office. 2:00. I'll be there. The next day, I walked into the county prosecutor's office, carrying a flash drive with 6 weeks of security footage. Monica met me in a conference room, wearing a dark suit and the expression of a woman who'd made a decision. Show me what you've got, she said. I plugged the flash drive into her laptop and started the video. The first clip was from 3 weeks ago. Keith and Dana in my living room talking about their plans. The divorce will be messy, Dana was saying on the recording. Tom's going to fight it. Let him fight, Keith replied. What's he going to do? He's a blue-collar guy with a high school education. You're a successful businesswoman with a college degree. Any judge will see who deserves what. What about custody? Max is better off with you. Tom works all day, comes home dirty. You can provide stability. Monica's face was stone. Keep playing it. The next clip was from 2 weeks ago. Keith and Dana in the kitchen talking about money. I've got the apartment downtown, Keith was saying. 2 bedrooms, view of the lake. You'll love it. How are you paying for it? I'm using the business account, temporary loan. Once the divorces are final, we'll sort it out. Keith, that's risky. It's fine. Monica doesn't pay attention to the finances. And Tom's too stupid to check up on your spending. Monica paused the video. That business account is half mine. Community property. I know, I said. There's more. The third clip was from last week. Dana and Keith talking about me. He's getting suspicious, Dana was saying. He asked me about the new car. What did you tell him? That it was a company car. A loaner. Good. Just keep him calm for a few more weeks. Once the papers are filed, it won't matter. Keith laughed. Poor Tom. He still thinks he's got a chance to save his marriage. He's pathetic, Dana agreed. He actually brought me flowers yesterday. Like that would fix everything. Monica turned off the video. I've seen enough. There's more. Hours of it. I believe you. She stood up and paced to the window. Tom, what they're doing? It's not just adultery, it's fraud. Keith is using business assets to support his affair. He's violated the restraining order. And Dana is participating in the deception. So what do? We destroy them. Legally? Completely. She turned back to me. But I need to know you're going to follow my lead. No more fake magnums. No more confrontations. We do this by the book. I can live with that. Good. Because I'm going to need you to testify in court about everything you've seen and heard. I'll do it. Monica smiled for the first time since I'd met her. Keith thinks he's smart. He thinks he can manipulate the system, but he's about to learn that the system can bite back. Over the next week, Monica worked her magic. She filed charges against Keith for violating the restraining order. She subpoenaed the business account records. She deposed Dana about her knowledge of Keith's financial crimes. Meanwhile, I worked with Jennifer Walsh to build my divorce case. The recordings were devastating. Dana's own words, captured on video, showed her true feelings about our marriage and our son. But Keith wasn't going down without a fight. 3 days after Monica filed charges, I was leaving work when 3 men approached me in the parking lot. You Tom Harden? The biggest one asked. He was tall, muscular, with the kind of facial hair that suggested he'd given up on life. Who's asking? Friend of Keith Maddox? He wants to have a word with you. Tell Keith he can call me. He wants to talk now. The second man stepped closer. He was smaller but wiry, with the nervous energy of someone who'd done time. The third man hung back, but I could see the bulge under his jacket. Look, guys, I said, I don't want any trouble. Should have thought of that before you screwed with Keith's life. The big man swung at me. I ducked and drove my knee into his stomach. He doubled over, gasping. The wiry man pulled out a knife. Bad idea, he said. I grabbed a tire iron from my truck bed and swung it at his hand. He dropped the knife and stumbled backward. The third man reached for his tool, but I was already pressing the panic button on my smartwatch. The alarm on my truck started blaring. Security lights flooded the parking lot. The three men looked around nervously. "But this isn't over," the big man said, still catching his breath. "Yeah, it is," I said, holding up my phone, "because I just recorded this whole thing." They ran. I called Monica immediately. "Keith hired muscle," I told her. "3 guys. They just tried to jump me in the parking lot." "Are you hurt?" "I'm fine, but I've got video of the whole thing, and one of them dropped something." I picked up the knife and a wallet that had fallen during the struggle. The wallet belonged to Derek Santos. Inside was $300 in cash and one of Keith's business cards. "Tom, you need to file a police report right now." "I'm on my way to the station." "Good. And Tom, this actually helps our case." Keith just escalated from civil to criminal. The police took my statement and arrested Derek Santos at his apartment 2 hours later. He confessed to being hired by Keith to send a message, but denied any intent to seriously harm me. Keith was arrested the next morning for conspiracy to commit assault. His bail was set at $50,000. He made bail, but the damage was done. Monica had all the ammunition she needed. The divorce proceedings began 2 weeks later. Dana's lawyer, Robert Hayes, was expensive and experienced. He came into court like he owned the place, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my truck. "Your Honor," he said during opening statements, "my client is a victim of domestic violence. Mr. Harden threatened her, forced her from her home, and has been stalking her through illegal surveillance." Jennifer Walsh stood up. "Your Honor, Mr. Harden's actions were those of a man who discovered his wife's adultery in his own home. The Magnum was a toy. The surveillance was legal. And the stalking allegations are fabricated. I'd like to present evidence of the defendant's unstable behavior," Hayes said. "I'd like to present evidence of the plaintiff's adultery and financial fraud," Jennifer countered. Judge Patricia Coleman was a stern woman in her 60s who'd been handling family law for 20 years. She looked at both lawyers with the expression of someone who'd seen it all. "I'll hear the evidence," she said. Hayes went first. He presented photos of the fake Magnum, testimony from Dana about how terrified she'd been, and character witnesses who claimed I was controlling and obsessive. But Jennifer was ready. She played the security footage. The courtroom was silent as Dana's voice filled the air. "Tom's pathetic. He actually brought me flowers yesterday. Like that would fix everything," Hayes objected. "Your Honor, this recording was made without my client's knowledge or consent." "In Mr. Harden's own home," Jennifer replied, "which is perfectly legal in Wisconsin." Judge Coleman allowed the recording to continue. More clips played. Dana and Keith mocking me, planning their future together, laughing about how they'd manipulate the divorce proceedings. Dana's face was white. She whispered something to her lawyer, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "Your Honor," Hayes said when the recording ended, "even if my client made some regrettable comments, adultery is not a crime in Wisconsin." "No," Jennifer agreed, "but fraud is. And using marital assets to support an affair is grounds for an unequal distribution of property." She presented bank records showing how Keith had used his business account to pay for the apartment where he and Dana had been meeting. How Dana had used our joint credit card to buy lingerie and other items for her affair. "Your Honor," Jennifer continued, "Mrs. Harden has been systematically deceiving her husband while planning to take half of everything he's worked for. She's been using his money to fund her affair, and she's been planning to alienate their son from his father." Hayes tried to object, but Judge Coleman had heard enough. "I'll issue my ruling in 1 week." Outside the courthouse, Dana cornered me in the parking lot. "Tom, we need to talk." "I don't think we do." "Please, I know you're angry, but we can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can try to save our marriage." I looked at her standing there in her expensive suit, trying to look vulnerable, like she hadn't just spent the last hour in court defending her affair. "Dana, I heard what you said about me on the recording. You think I'm pathetic? You think I'm stupid? You think our son is better off without me? I didn't mean any of that. I was angry. I was confused. You were honest, maybe for the first time in our marriage. Tom, please, no. You made your choice. You chose Keith. Now live with it." I walked away, leaving her standing in the parking lot. but I knew she wasn't done. Dana never gave up without a fight. That night, she called my boss at the HVAC company. "Mr. Patterson," she said, "I'm calling about Tom Harden. He's been stalking me. He's been threatening me. I don't think he's stable enough to be working with dangerous equipment." My boss, Mike Patterson, was a good man who'd known me for 6 years. He called me immediately. "Tom, I just got a strange call from your wife. She says you're stalking her?" "Mike, I'm going through a divorce. My wife is trying to make me look bad in court. She's lying." I figured as much, but I had to ask. "You've been a good employee. I'm not going to fire you based on one phone call from an angry spouse." "Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Just keep your personal life separate from work, okay? I don't want any drama in my shop." "You got it." But Dana wasn't finished. Over the next few days, she called my son's school, claiming I was emotionally unstable and shouldn't be allowed to pick him up. She called my landlord at the motel, claiming I was dangerous and should be evicted. She even called my bank, claiming I was mentally incompetent and shouldn't have access to our joint accounts. Each time, I had to explain the situation. Each time, I had to prove that I wasn't the monster she was making me out to be. It was exhausting and humiliating. But Monica was watching, and she was taking notes. "Tom," she said when I called her after the school incident, "Dana is digging her own grave. Every false claim she makes, every lie she tells, it's all going to come back to bite her." "How?" "In court. When she testifies, Jennifer is going to ask her about these phone calls, about her attempts to sabotage your reputation. It's going to show the judge exactly who she really is." "And Keith? Keith is facing criminal charges, assault, fraud, violating a restraining order. His business is collapsing. His reputation is ruined, and he's about to lose everything in our divorce." "Good. Tom, I want you to know I'm grateful for what you did that night, for the recordings, for helping me see the truth. We helped each other." "Yes, but you took the risk. You exposed yourself to make sure justice was served. Not many people would do that." A week later, Judge Coleman issued her ruling. I sat in the courtroom with Jennifer, watching Dana's face as the judge read the decision. "Based on the evidence presented," Judge Coleman said, "I find that Mrs. Harden has committed adultery and has used marital assets to support her affair. I also find that her attempts to alienate the child from his father are contrary to the best interests of the child." Dana's face crumpled. Hayes put his hand on her shoulder. "Therefore, I award primary custody to Mr. Harden. Mrs. Harden will have supervised visitation pending completion of a psychological evaluation. The marital home will be sold, with 70% of the proceeds going to Mr. Harden as compensation for Mrs. Harden's dissipation of marital assets." I couldn't believe it. Not only was I getting my son back, but I was getting the house too. "Furthermore," Judge Coleman continued, "I find Mrs. Harden's behavior during these proceedings to be vindictive and inappropriate. Her attempts to sabotage Mr. Harden's employment and reputation are contemptible. Therefore, she will be responsible for his attorney fees." Dana started crying. Hayes looked defeated. "Your Honor," he said, "we request an appeal." "That's your right," Judge Coleman replied. "But I doubt you'll find an appellate court that will overturn this decision." Outside the courthouse, Monica was waiting for me. "Congratulations," she said. "You won." "So did you. How did Keith's case go?" "He pled guilty to all charges. 6 months in county jail, 3 years probation, and full restitution to me for the money he stole from our business." "What about the divorce?" "I'm getting everything. The house, the business, the cars. Keith will be lucky to have enough left over for a studio apartment." We stood there in the afternoon sun, two people who'd been betrayed by the people they loved most. But we'd survived. We'd fought back, and we'd won. "Monica," I said, "I couldn't have done this without you." "Same here. Keith and Dana thought they could destroy us. They thought we were weak. They were wrong. What happens now?" "Now we move on. We rebuild. We show them that we're stronger than they ever imagined." That night, I went back to the house for the first time in 2 months. Dana had moved out, taking only her clothes and personal items. The rest was mine. I sat down in my old recliner and looked around the living room. It felt different now. Empty, but not lonely. Quiet, but not sad. It felt like a new beginning. My phone buzzed. A text from Kyle. "Heard you won." "Proud of you, brother." Another text from Max. Dad, can I come home now? I miss you. And then one from Monica. Keith tried to call me tonight. I didn't answer, but I want you to know we did the right thing. I poured myself a beer and turned on the TV. The news was on, but I wasn't really watching. I was thinking about the past 3 months, about how quickly everything had changed, about how people you trust can betray you in the worst possible way. But I was also thinking about justice, real justice, the kind that comes from standing up for yourself when everyone expects you to roll over, the kind that comes from fighting back when the odds are stacked against you. Dana and Keith thought they could destroy my life without consequences. They thought they could humiliate me and walk away unscathed. They were wrong. Keith was in jail. His business was ruined. His marriage was over. His reputation was destroyed. He'd lost everything. Dana was facing supervised visitation with her own son. She'd lost the house, most of the assets, and her standing in the community. Her real estate license was under review for ethical violations. She was financially ruined and professionally disgraced. And me? I was sitting in my recliner in my house, with my son coming home tomorrow. I'd survived. I'd fought back. I'd won. The phone rang. I looked at the caller ID. Dana. I let it ring. She tried again. And again. Finally, I answered. What do you want, Dana? Tom, please, I need to talk to you. I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. You made your choice. Now live with it. I made a mistake. I know that. But we can fix this. We can try again. No, we can't. You destroyed our marriage. You destroyed our family. You destroyed everything we built together. Tom, I love you. I've always loved you. No, you haven't. You loved the idea of me, the safe choice, the guy who would work hard and pay the bills while you figured out what you really wanted. That's not true. It is true. I heard you say it. On the recording. You called me pathetic. You said our son was better off without me. Dana was crying now. I was angry. I was confused. I didn't mean any of it. Maybe. But you said it. And that tells me everything I need to know about what you really think of me. Tom, please, I'm begging you, give me another chance. I gave you 8 years of chances. I gave you my heart, my trust, my loyalty. And you threw it all away for Keith Maddox, a man who's now in jail because of what you two did. I know I hurt you, but I can change. I can be better. Dana, you can't change what you are. You're selfish. You're manipulative. You're a liar. And I'm done pretending otherwise. Tom, no. Don't call me again. Don't come to the house. Don't contact me unless it's about Max. We're done. I hung up and turned off the phone. Outside, I could hear the lake lapping against the shore. The sound was peaceful, calming. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But my peace was short-lived. The next morning, I woke up to find my truck vandalized. The tires were slashed. The windshield was cracked, and someone had keyed "bastard" into the paint on the driver's side door. I called the police, but I already knew who was responsible. Keith had been released on bail pending sentencing. He was desperate, angry, and running out of options. Officer Martinez took pictures of the damage and dusted for fingerprints. Any idea who might have done this? Keith Maddox. He's facing jail time because of me. He's got nothing left to lose. Any proof? Check the security cameras at the motel. I'm sure they caught something. They did. The footage showed Keith and 2 other men vandalizing my truck at 3 in the morning. Within hours, Keith was back in jail, this time without bail. But he wasn't finished. Even from jail, he was making moves. His lawyer contacted Dana, offering to help her with her appeal in exchange for her testimony against me in his criminal case. Dana was desperate enough to consider it. She met with Keith's lawyer, Robert Chen, at his downtown office. Mrs. Harden, Chen said, my client is willing to help you with your custody appeal. But he needs something in return. What kind of something? He needs you to testify that your husband threatened you with a real tool, that he was unstable, violent, dangerous. Dana hesitated. But that's not true. The tool was fake. Tom never actually threatened me. Mrs. Harden, you're facing supervised visitation with your son. You've lost your home, your assets, your reputation. This is your chance to get some of it back. What if I get caught lying? You won't. It's your word against his, and Keith will corroborate your story. Dana agreed. But she didn't know that Monica had been monitoring Keith's jail calls. Every conversation he'd had with his lawyer, every plan they'd made, every lie they'd concocted, it was all recorded. The day before Keith's sentencing, Monica called me. "Tom, I need you to come to the courthouse tomorrow. There's something you need to hear." "What is it?" "Keith and Dana are planning to commit perjury. They're going to claim you threatened them with a real thing. They think it will help with Keith's sentencing and Dana's appeal. Can you prove it?" "I can prove everything. The jail calls, the meetings with the lawyer, the whole conspiracy. They're about to walk into a trap." The next morning, I sat in the courtroom gallery as Keith appeared before Judge Harrison for sentencing. Dana was there too, dressed in a conservative suit, ready to play the victim. Keith's lawyer stood up. "Your Honor, before sentencing, I'd like to call a witness who can speak to the circumstances that led to my client's behavior." "Very well. Call your witness." I called Dana Hardin. Dana took the stand and was sworn in. She looked nervous, but determined. "Mrs. Hardin," Chen said, "can you describe what happened on the night of January 15th? "Yes, my husband came home and found me with Keith. He became violent. He threatened us with a tool." "What kind of tool?" "A magnum, a big one. He pointed it at Keith and said he was going to end him." "Did you believe he would carry out that threat?" "Yes, I was terrified. I thought he was going to shoot both of us." Chen nodded. "Your Honor, my client's subsequent behavior, while regrettable, was the result of trauma from this incident. He was acting out of fear for his safety." Judge Harrison looked skeptical. "Mrs. Hardin, are you certain about your testimony?" "Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely certain." "I see. Mr. Chen, does your client wish to make a statement?" Keith stood up. "Yes, Your Honor. I want to apologize for my actions. But I also want the court to understand that I was acting out of fear. Tom Hardin is a dangerous man. He threatened to end me. He's been stalking me and my wife. I was just trying to protect myself." Judge Harrison nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Maddox. You may sit down." Then Monica stood up from the prosecutor's table. "Your Honor, I have evidence that contradicts this testimony." "What kind of evidence?" "Recorded phone calls from the defendant while he was in jail, calls in which he and Mrs. Hardin planned to commit perjury." Dana's face went white. Keith started to stand up, but the bailiff pushed him back down. "Your Honor," Chen objected, "this is highly irregular." "I'll allow it," Judge Harrison said. "Let's hear the evidence." Monica played the recording. Keith's voice filled the courtroom. "Dana, listen to me. You need to say the magnum was real. You need to say I threatened both of you. It's the only way to get the judge to go easy on me." "But Keith, that's not what happened." "It doesn't matter what happened. It matters what the judge believes happened. You do this for me, and I'll help you with your custody appeal." The courtroom was dead silent. Dana looked like she was going to be sick. "Your Honor," Monica continued, "I have additional recordings of Mr. Maddox conspiring with his attorney to suborn perjury. This is a clear case of obstruction of justice." Judge Harrison's face was stone. "Mrs. Hardin, you are in contempt of court." "Bailiff, place her in custody." "Your Honor, please. You just committed perjury in my courtroom. You conspired to pervert the course of justice. You will be held without bail pending charges." As the bailiff led Dana away in handcuffs, she looked at me with pure hatred. Like this was somehow my fault. Like I was the one who'd made her lie under oath. Judge Harrison turned to Keith. "Mr. Maddox, your attempt to manipulate this court through perjury and conspiracy is one of the most contemptible things I've seen in 20 years on the bench. I sentence you to 2 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of probation." Keith's knees buckled. 2 years. He'd been expecting 6 months. "Furthermore," Judge Harrison continued, "I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for additional charges of obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit perjury." As they led Keith away, he looked back at me. "This isn't over, Hardin." "Yeah," I said, "it is." Outside the courthouse, Monica and I stood in the parking lot watching as news vans arrived to cover the story. Local businessman sentenced for perjury conspiracy. It would be front-page news in tomorrow's paper. "Well," Monica said, "that was satisfying." "Dana's going to prison too, isn't she?" "Probably. Perjury is a felony. She'll do at least a year, maybe 2. "What about Max?" "You have full custody. Dana won't be getting visitation rights anytime soon. I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that it was over. Sadness that it had come to this. That the woman I'd loved for 8 years had been willing to send me to prison to save herself. Monica, I said, I want to thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. We made a good team. But Tom, I want you to know, this doesn't make us even. What Keith and Dana did to us, it was unforgivable. But we got justice. Real justice. What happens now? Now we move on. We rebuild our lives. We show our kids that sometimes the good guys win. That night, I went home to my house and my son. Max was waiting for me in the living room, doing his homework at the kitchen table. Dad, he said when I walked in, I saw the news. Is Mom really going to jail? Yes, son, she is. Because she lied? Because she lied in court. Because she tried to hurt me with those lies. Max nodded. He was 12, old enough to understand the basics of what had happened. Dad, I'm sorry. About Mom, about everything. You don't have anything to be sorry for. None of this was your fault. I know Mom did bad things, but I still love her. That's okay. She's still your mother. What she did to me doesn't change that. Max came over and hugged me. I'm glad you're not going to jail. Me too, son. Me too. Over the next few weeks, life slowly returned to normal. Max went back to school. I went back to work. We settled into a routine. But I wasn't naive. I knew Keith would be back someday. 2 years wasn't forever. And Dana would eventually get out of prison too. They'd both blame me for their downfall, and they'd want revenge. But I wasn't the same man they'd betrayed 6 months ago. I was harder now, smarter, more prepared, and I had allies. Monica had become a friend, bonded by shared trauma and mutual victory. Kyle visited regularly, helping me prepare for whatever might come next. Tom, he said one Saturday afternoon as we worked on my truck, you know they're going to come after you when they get out. I know. You ready for that? I'm ready for anything. Kyle nodded. Good. Because men like Keith, they don't forget. They don't forgive. And they sure as heck don't learn. Let them come. I'm not the same guy who sat in his recliner and let his wife walk all over him. No, you're not. But remember what I taught you. Be smart. Be prepared. But don't let revenge consume you. I won't. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't entirely true. Part of me wanted Keith and Dana to suffer. Part of me wanted them to pay for what they'd done. Not just to me, but to Max, to our family. 6 months later, I got a call from Monica. Tom, I thought you should know. Keith's getting out early. Good behavior. How early? Next month. And Dana? She's got another year. But she's been trying to contact Max through third parties. Social media, friends at school. I'll handle it. Tom, be careful. Don't do anything stupid. I won't. But I was already making plans. Keith would be angry, broke, and desperate. He'd blame me for everything that had happened to him. And he'd want payback. I was ready. The day Keith got out of prison, I was waiting for him. Not at the prison. That would have been too obvious. But I knew he'd go to his old apartment first, the one he'd shared with Dana during their affair. I sat in my truck across the street watching as he walked up the steps. He looked older, thinner, beaten down by 18 months in state prison. But his eyes were the same, cold, calculating, filled with hatred. He went inside and didn't come out for 3 hours. When he finally emerged, he was carrying a suitcase and a manila envelope. He got into a beat-up Honda, probably all he could afford now, and drove away. I followed him to a seedy motel on the outskirts of town, the kind of place where you paid by the week and nobody asked questions. He was planning something. I could feel it. I called Monica. Keith's out. He's staying at the Crossroads Motel on Highway 50. I know, I've been monitoring his parole officer. He's required to check in twice a week. Think he'll try something? I think he'll try everything. But Tom, you can't go after him. If you violate his parole, you'll go to prison. I'm not going to touch him, but I'm going to be ready when he comes for me. How do you know he will? Because I know Keith. He's got nothing left. No money, no job, no future. The only thing he's got is his hatred for me. I was right. 2 days later, Keith showed up at my work. I was under the hood of a broken air conditioner when Mike Patterson called out to me. "Tom, there's someone here to see you." I looked up to see Keith standing in the doorway of the garage. He was wearing cheap clothes and a nervous smile. "Hello, Tom." "Keith." I wiped my hands on a rag and stepped away from the AC unit. "What do you want?" "I want to talk, man to man." "About what?" "About what happened. About moving forward." I laughed. "Moving forward? You tried to have me beaten up. You vandalized my truck. You and Dana tried to send me to prison with perjury." "I know, I made mistakes, but I paid for them. 18 months in prison, Tom. 18 months of nightmare." "Good." Keith's smile faltered. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to apologize." "To try to make things right? There's nothing to make right. You destroyed my marriage, tried to destroy my life, and now you want to shake hands and pretend it never happened?" "I want to move on." "I want both of us to move on." "Then stay away from me. Stay away from my son. Stay away from my life." Keith's mask slipped for just a second. I saw the rage underneath, the hatred he was trying to hide. "Tom, I'm trying to be reasonable here." "No, you're not. You're trying to manipulate me, the same way you manipulated Dana, the same way you tried to manipulate the judge. But it's not going to work. I'm not manipulating anyone. I'm trying to have a civilized conversation." "We're done talking." I turned back to the AC unit. "Get out of my shop! Tom, get out! Now!" Keith stood there for a long moment, his hands clenched into fists. Then he turned and walked away. But I knew he'd be back. Men like Keith didn't give up. They just found new ways to strike. That night, I installed new security cameras around my house. Motion sensors, floodlights, the works. Kyle helped me set up a monitoring system that would alert me if anyone approached the property. "You think he'll try something?" Kyle asked. "I know he will. It's just a matter of when." "What's your plan?" "Wait for him to make a move. Then end it." "Tom, you can't." "I can't what? Defend myself? Protect my son? Kyle, this guy tried to have me killed." "He's not going to stop until one of us is dead." "Then let the police handle it." "The police can't do anything until he actually commits a crime, and by then, it might be too late." Kyle sighed. "Just be smart about it. Don't do anything that's going to put you in prison." "I won't." But I was already thinking about how to make Keith disappear, not end him. I wasn't a murderer, but there were other ways to destroy a man. Ways that would leave him broken, helpless, and completely defeated. The opportunity came sooner than I expected. 3 days after Keith's visit to my shop, I got a call from Monica. "Tom, Keith violated his parole. He was caught with pills." "Where did he get it?" "That's the interesting part. According to the police report, he was buying it from a dealer who works for one of his old business associates." "Let me guess. He's broke and desperate, so he's trying to get back into the game." "That's what it looks like. But Tom, there's something else. The dealer says Keith was asking about you." "About your schedule, your habits, where you live?" "He's planning something." "I think so, and I think you need to disappear for a while." "I'm not running from Keith Maddox." "Tom, this isn't about pride. This is about survival. Keith is desperate, and desperate men do desperate things. Let him come. I'll be ready." But Monica was right. Keith was planning something big, something that would end with me dead or in prison. That night, I sat in my recliner with a shotgun across my lap, watching the security monitors. Max was at his friend's house for a sleepover, so I didn't have to worry about him getting caught in the crossfire. At 2 a.m., the motion sensors triggered. 3 figures approached the house from different directions. Keith and 2 other men, all armed, all moving with military precision. I called 911 first, then I called Monica. "Keith's here. 3 men, all armed." "I'm going to defend myself." "Tom, don't. If something happens to me, take care of Max." I hung up and chambered around. The first man tried to break in through the back door. I was waiting for him in the kitchen, Magnum aimed at center mass. "Drop it," I said. He raised it. I pulled the trigger. The blast knocked him backward through the door. He was alive but wounded, crying and clutching his shoulder. The second man came through the living room window. I was already moving, using the furniture for cover. "Tom Harden," he shouted. "Keith wants to talk to you. Tell Keith to go to heck." He fired twice, missing me by inches. I returned fire, hitting him in the leg. He went down hard. Keith came through the front door, tool drawn, murder in his eyes. "You destroyed my life!" he screamed. You took everything from me. You destroyed your own life, I said, stepping out from behind the couch. I just made sure you paid for it. I'm going to end you, Tom, and then I'll do it to your son. No, you're not. I pulled the trigger. The blast caught Keith in the chest, spinning him around and slamming him into the wall. But he was alive. He was lying on the floor, but still conscious. You shot me, he gasped. Yeah, I did. And I'll do it again if you move. The police arrived 5 minutes later. They found Keith and his 2 accomplices wounded but alive. They found the magnums, the pills, and the plan Keith had written down in his motel room. He'd been planning to end me, burn down my house, and make it look like an accident. Then he was going to end Max and claim it was self-defense. But instead, he was going back to prison, this time for attempted murder. As the paramedics loaded Keith into the ambulance, he looked at me one last time. This isn't over, he whispered. Yeah, I said. It is. Keith Maddox was sentenced to 25 years in prison. His accomplices got 10 years each. None of them would be eligible for parole for at least 15 years. Dana was released from prison 6 months later, but she didn't come back to Lake Geneva. She moved to Milwaukee, where she got a job as a secretary. She never contacted me or Max again. Monica and I remained friends, bonded by what we'd survived together. She helped me navigate the legal aftermath of the shooting, and she made sure Keith's conviction stuck. You know, she said one day as we sat on my porch, watching Max play in the yard, I used to think revenge was wrong, that it was beneath civilized people. What changed your mind? Keith and Dana. They showed me that some people don't understand anything except force. They don't respect kindness or forgiveness. They only respect strength. And we were strong. Yes, we were. We fought back when they tried to destroy us, and we won. I nodded. But it cost us, both of us. Everything costs something. The question is whether it's worth the price. Was it worth it? Monica looked at Max, then back at me. Ask me in 20 years. That night, I sat in my recliner for the last time. Tomorrow, Max and I were moving to a new house across town, somewhere without memories of Dana's betrayal or Keith's violence. I thought about the past 2 years, about how quickly everything had changed, about how people you trust can destroy you if you let them. But I also thought about justice, about standing up for yourself when everyone expects you to roll over, about fighting back when the odds are stacked against you. Keith and Dana had thought they could humiliate me, destroy my life, and walk away unscathed. They'd been wrong. Keith was in prison for the rest of his life. Dana was broken, alone, and forgotten. And me? I was sitting in my recliner in my house with my son safe upstairs. I'd survived. I'd fought back. I'd won. The house burned, the lies crumbled, and the recliner, still mine.